We continue now at the top of Daf Mem Zayin Amud Aleph in Mesechet Kesubos. This is Kesuvos Daf 47a. And the previous Amud, the Mishnah said that if the daughter finds something, so then that belongs to her father. And the Gemara here explains Mishum Eva. The reason is because of hatred, as Rashi over here says, Mishum Eva. Tekevon de'eno chayev b'mezonoseha. Since he's not chayev to support her, Iamrit mitziyasa shalah. If we said that which she finds belongs to her, Iko Eva v'lo zayin lasu. So then there'd be hatred. He would no longer support her. So in order to encourage the father to support his daughter, therefore we say that which she finds belongs to the father. And the Gemara continues at the two dots, quoting the Mishnah, B'maisei Yadeha, we also say that the earnings of the daughter, they go to the father. Says the Gemara, Menolan, from where do we know this? Da'amar Rav Huna Marav, because Rav Huna said in the name of Rav, Minayin Shemaisa Habas Liyav, how do we know that the earnings of the daughter go to the father? Shenemar, like the Pasuk says, V'chiyim kor ish as bito liyom, it says that if a person sells his daughter to be a maidservant, so we see here a comparison between the daughter and the maidservant, Ma'oma Maisei Yadeh l'Rab, but just like by a maidservant, her earnings belong to her master. Af bas ma'aseh yadeh li'avia, so too when it comes to the daughter, her earnings belong to her father. And the Gemara says, Ve'ema hani mili katana, but maybe we should say that's only true by a katana, by a girl that's a minor. The matzi mezavin, because such a girl, he's able to sell her at that age. Aval nara, but when it comes to a nara, the lo matzi mezavin, where already she's too old, he's not able to sell her. So ma'aseh yadeh didahava, so maybe we should say that her earnings belong to her. And so the Gemara says, Mistabra diavia havin. No, it makes more sense to say that the earnings go to her father. Because if you think that her earnings do not go to her father, so but we know that the Torah allows the father to give the daughter over to chuppah, to give her over to be married to the wedding canopy. So how could he give her over to chuppah? Isn't that itself that's stopping her from earning any money? So therefore, when he does that action, if it stops her from earning money, therefore it makes sense to say that he's entitled to her earnings. Rashi over here says, as biti nasati kol nesinos shabab emashma. The word nasati, I've given her over, sounds like all kind of giving her over. V'yoso hayom, in that day that you give her over to be married, eina osa malacha, she's not able to work. So hechi matzi v'chulav, how is he able to do that? It must be the fact that he's able to do that that shows that he is entitled to her earnings. And so the Gemara continues. Parich Rav Achoy. So Rav Achoy asks the following question on that. Ema diyoiv la schar pekata. Very simple. Maybe he's able to give her over to get married, but he has to pay her for the fact that she wasn't able to work on that day. Inami or the Masr la Belelia. Maybe he gave her over at night. There is no working at night anyway, so she didn't lose out on any earnings. Inami or the Masr la B'Shabbasos v'Yamim Tovim. Maybe he gave her over to be married on Shabbos or Yom Tov. Again, there's no earnings that day anyway, so it's not an issue. And so therefore, there's no proof from the fact that the father's able to give her over to be married. There's no proof that he's entitled to her earnings. And so the Gemara instead says, Ella, rather, katana lo tzricha kra. The pasuk didn't need to tell us that the earnings of the katana go to the father, so the pasuk can't be talking about a katana. Why didn't the pasuk need to tell us about a katana? Hashta zevunim izavin. Now when it comes to a katana, he's even allowed to sell her. As we said, he's allowed to sell her as a maidservant. So ma'isi ademi, boy, do you think that the pasuk needs to tell us that he's entitled to her earnings? Of course he's entitled to the earnings of his daughter that's a katana. Ella ki tzarich kra l'nara. Rather, the pasuk must be necessary for a nara. That's exactly what the pasuk is saying. The pasuk is saying that when it comes to a nara, he's entitled to her earnings. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, "B'hafaras nedoreh," the father is able to annul her vows, talking about his daughter. Menolan, from where do we know this? Techsiv, because the pasuk says, "Binureha beisavia." Again, when she is a nara, she's in the house of her father. He has this ability to annul her vows. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, "Umekabel gita." The father is the one that accepts, that receives her get. Menolan, from where we know this, Techsiv, like the pasuk says, "V'yotza v'haisa." It talks about she leaves one marriage and she enters into another marriage. It puts them next to each other. Iskish yitzia lahavai. There's a comparison between the divorce and the marriage. Just like by marriage, again, we said he accepts the kedushin. So too, when it comes to divorce, he accepts the get. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, "V'yeino ochel peiros bechayeh." The father is not allowed to eat the produce from her property, from his daughter's property, during her lifetime. And the Gemara says, "Tanu Rabbanon," the rabbis taught, "Ha'av eino ochel peiros bechayeh bito." The father is not allowed to eat the produce during the lifetime of his daughter. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda says, "Ha'av ochel peiros bechayeh bito." No, actually, a father is allowed to eat the produce during the lifetime of his daughter. And the Gemara says, "B'mai kamiflagi." What are they arguing about? What is the Tanakama? And Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, what are they arguing about? And the Gemara says, Tanakama Savar, the Tanakama holds Bishlama Baal. I understand by the husband, Takinu le Rabbanan Piri. There, the Rabbanan instituted that he gets the fruits of his wife, Diamkain, because otherwise, Mimna Velo Parak, he's going to refrain and he's not going to redeem her in case she's held captive. In other words, one was in lieu of the other. Because of the fact that the husband gets the fruits, that's going to be the reason why he's obligated to redeem her if she gets captured. Ela Ava, when it comes to the father, Michael Amemer, what are you going to say? The Mimna Velo Parak, that he's going to refrain, he's not going to redeem his own daughter. But Lavachi Parak, even if we don't give him the peiros, he's certainly going to redeem his daughter, that is his flesh and blood. And the Gemara answers for Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda Savar, that Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, he will respond to the Tanakama, and he will say as follows, Avnami Mimna Velo Parak. No, even a father might refrain and not redeem his daughter, because Savar, because he'll think to himself, Kisa Nikita Love, Tezel V'Tifrag Nafsha. She has a whole pocket of money to herself. Again, that's what we're talking here, the produce from her property. She has her own money. Let her go ahead and let her redeem herself. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Nisis, if she gets married, Yeser Olav Habal Shu Ochel V'Chulo, that the husband, he has more rights than the father, and again, the idea being that he eats the produce from her property. And the Gemara says, Tanu Rabban, and the rabbis taught, Kosav la Peiros Ksus V'Kelim, Sheyavo Ima Mi Beis Avia LeBeis Bala. Let's say her father wrote over to her as a diary, there are fruits, there's clothing, there's vessels, and they were supposed to go from her father's house to her husband's house. So Mesa, so if she dies, Lo Zocha Habal Bidvarim Halalu, the husband does not get these things. Mishum Rabbi Nasan Amru, in the name of Rabbi Nasan, they said, Zocha Habal Bidvarim Halalu, no, the husband does indeed get this dowry. Rashi over here says, Kasav la peiros ksus v'kelim pasak la'av binidunisa. Again, this is in the dowry. Shetachnes labala. She's bringing this into the marriage. Metaltalin kagon peiros telushin uchsus v'kelim v'chasvan lamin. And these are all metaltalin, movable objects that are all going there. And he wrote it over during the time, from the time of the betrothal. Umeza beirsin, and then she dies during the time when she's in arusa. So they didn't yet get married; they're only betrothed. So lo zacha. So he doesn't get it until the actual marriage. Again, that was the opinion of the Tanakama. And then from Rabbi Nasan, they said, no, the husband gets it even though they never actually got married, even though she was just an arusa. And the Gemara says, Leima bepluksa de Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah v'Rabbanan kamiflagi. Let us say that this machlokis over here between the Tanakam and Rabbi Nasan is the same machlokis that we find by Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and the Rabbanan. The Tanan, as we learned in a Mishnah, Nisar Mala Onis Garsha. Let's say you have a situation of a woman who became a widow, or she got divorced, Bein Min Hanisuin, Bein Min O'Erisin, whether that happened when they were already married, or whether that happened when they were only in the state of Erisin, that she was only betrothed, then she became a widow, or she was divorced, Gova Esakal, the Rabbanan say she collects everything from the Ksuba, even in a situation here again, where it's from the time of Erisin. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Omer. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, Min hanisuin goves hakol. From the nisuin, if she was married, then she collects everything. Umin ha'erisin, but if it's only from the time of erisin, besula gove masayim ve'almona mona. So then the besula, she'll get the regular 200 of the ksuba. The almona will get 100, but anything additional, she's not going to get if she was widowed or divorced from the time of erisin. Rashi over here says, Lema beplugsa demanda amar balo yoresh nedunyasa mino erisin. According to the one who says that the husband even gets the dowry even if there was only erisin, kirabbanan, that's going to follow the rabbanan da'amri that they say in meishu, that if he dies, let's say again during erisin, govo esakol, she collects everything, mana masayim vitosefes, she gets the 100, the 200 plus whatever additional. Alma ksubasa kaima ki'ilu nisis. So therefore you see that her ksuba exists for her as if she was already married. So in Mesa Isa, therefore the other way around also, let's say she dies, Nami Yoris Iu Nedunya, he also will inherit the dowry. Sha'afhi Besoch HaShtar Nichtava, that's written in the same shtar, it's written in that same document of the Ksuba, Dachi Kasvinon Don Nedunya Den Olas Lei, Mi Be'avua, Kach V'kach V'tzavi V'yosef La Midilei Kach V'kach. So it's written there in the same document, so it should be the same thing. Just like she's going to get the entire Ksuba according to the Rabbanan, so too that's going to be the same thing the other way around. When it comes to the Nedunya, we're going to say that the husband, that's Rabbi Nasan's opinion, we're going to say that the husband is going to get the entire Nedunya, even though it's the time of Erisin. And we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Mem Zayin Amid Beis.